What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Over on the PTR, Blizzard has made yet more changes and buffs to Sigma, and also the most likely release date for the character on the live servers. First thing we're going to go over are the changes to Sigma. Oftentimes when people are thinking of nerfs and buffs, they're looking for those big flashy numbers, plus or minus a couple seconds on a cooldown, or maybe an extra 10 or 15 damage on some ability. With Sigma, these changes aren't quite like that, but they're still definitely buffs, and they're still fairly significant. So the first one is that the Kinetic Grasp can now be cancelled by accretion. So this is the Kinetic Grasp. It's what allows you to absorb all of that damage. I also want to point out that I dropped the cooldowns in this custom match, but it doesn't have any effect on anything else. I just don't want to wait the 12 seconds every single time I use the ability. Alright, so what happens now is there are two things that you can use to cancel this. The first one is the ultimate, which you could do before, and now you can also use the accretion ability to cancel it. And in case you're wondering, none of the other stuff does. Not the shield, not quick melee, not the regular attack, none of that stuff. So now you're going to be able to have the option to cancel it early if you want. But there's not just like, there is a cost to it. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Because when you activate the Kinetic Grasp, once it's over, you gain a small amount of shielding depending on how much damage you've absorbed. However, if you cancel it with the accretion ability, you don't get that extra shielding. So it allows you the opportunity to make that decision and cancel it early if you want to, but you don't get the extra shielding. So there is a bit of a trade-off. Now, why would you ever want to do this? Well, there's a lot of situations. Kinetic Grasp lasts for quite a long time. That's a long ability. And unlike Diva, you can't just turn it on and off. You have to wait for the whole thing. Well, now you can cancel it with accretion. And again, there are going to be cases like, for example, a Genji. Let's say you're activating this and a Genji uses his ultimate. Well, your Kinetic Grasp isn't going to do anything because the Genji attack goes right through it. But now you can cancel it into the accretion and you can hit the Genji, you can knock him away and knock him down for a little bit. So it gives you that opportunity to make those decisions, and it effectively raises the skill ceiling of the character. The other buff that he got has to do with the experimental barrier. It can now be recalled while the Kinetic Grasp and the accretion abilities are in use. So let me quickly show you. You throw out the barrier, activate this, then you can recall the barrier. And same thing with the accretion. While it's charging up, you can recall the barrier. If you're wondering about the ultimate, you can't recall it during the area targeting phase, but you can recall it immediately after. So let me show you. Can't recall it. Activate. Now I can recall it. So that's how it works. And why is this important? It's kind of like the other buff, right? It gives you more control over your character, and a more experienced player is going to get a lot more value out of this. If you're using one of your abilities, like if you're using this, then you probably don't need your barrier up. Now, a lot of players are going to try to either do one of two things. Either they're going to move in front of the barrier in order to activate this, which I've seen sometimes, or other times they're going to drop it and then activate the ability. And this kind of has a little bit of a gap, right? It's a tiny gap, but there's a little bit of gap when the barrier is going down and when you're activating this ability. Maybe it's not going to put you in danger, but it might put one of your teammates in danger. So the thing is like, if you activate this ability and you're like, oh, I forgot my barrier's up. Well, now what you can do is you just cancel it. So it does kind of help you a little bit if you do make that mistake, but again, these changes, all of these changes, just give you more control over your character. And again, experienced players are going to be able to take advantage of this and get a lot more value out of it. Moving on, there's another question that I get asked all the time, which is, when is Sigma going to be available for the live version of the game and on consoles? And while it's possible that they could release him at some point next week, I think a much more likely situation is going to be August 13th, when they finally update the game with the new roll queue. So that's a Tuesday, which is their regular patch day. And that August 13th is going to be when Season 17 ends, and they're going to start a roll queue beta season on the live version of the game. And that season is going to run from August 13th to September 1st. It's going to be 2 weeks. Now, remember, when a character is added to the game, they are unavailable in the competitive ladder for 2 weeks. So this would actually kind of match up really well with it. So if they end up adding Sigma to the game on August 13th with the Roll Queue beta season, then people are going to be able to practice with him in quick play and, you know, just kind of mess around with him and get used to the character. And then on September 1st, there'll be another patch that makes it so that Roll Queue is available for quick play and competitive play, and that will be the start of the first official Roll Queue season, and that will be Season 18. And again, once more, Sigma will have been on the game for 2 weeks, and he will now be available. So, when is the character going to be available? My guess is August 13th, and he'll be available to play in competitive the 1st of September. Probably the second most common question I see is, when are they going to add the cosmetics for Sigma? With the last couple characters, I believe they added all of the skins and the emotes and stuff about a week after the character was available on the PTR, but for Sigma, that time has already come and gone, so it could be any time. It could be today, it could be this weekend, next week, or they might end up waiting until the character is actually on the live version of the game. It does seem like they're trying to hold back a little bit on the teasers and all of that other stuff, and they want it to be more kind of revealed the day that the character actually happens. And they did the same thing with some of the events and stuff too, right? Like, they don't have any of those teaser skins for the summer games. They just waited until the day the event happened, and then they dropped everything. And they're only putting out the teasers after the fact and while the event is still going on to kind of promote it and that sort of deal. So really, it could be any time. Your guess is as good as mine. If we're going by what's already happened in the past, then, you know, the time has already come and gone, so who knows. One other thing, I do have a video that should be coming out later on today where it's a best tank combo video with Sigma, so I'm going to show you which other characters are the best to pair him up with. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to get that, and also, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.